driving my old yellow car. Thought I was driving my old yellow car.
The mariners of Portugal travelled the world and set up colonies in many far-reaching parts, from Mozambique to Angola, to Macau and the China Sea, and all the way south to Brazil. But they've never been known as a great motoring nation, although motorsport can be traced back to Portugal as far back as the beginning of this century. But it wasn't until 1951 that the first major race was run in Oporto, won by a Ferrari, driven by a man called Oliveira, a Portuguese driver. From 1954 to this date, many great drivers have been here: Gonzalez, Beira, Fangio, Moss, Brabham. There was a Portuguese Grand Prix driver called Mario Cabral who's here this weekend for this Grand Prix of Portugal. It was in 1984 that they came to this new facility, an autodromo in Estoril, just outside of Lisbon itself. It was at that year that Niki Lauda clinched the World Championship here. In pole position for this weekend of the Grand Prix of Portugal is this team back here. First time on pole for over 2.5 years. Ferrari, Gerhard Berger clinching that valuable pole position. The other great story here is that Alain Prost with the tag Marlboro McLaren, he's in third fastest time, so this could be a very interesting Grand Prix. Something new also for you. We've got a new man in the commentary position with me, a new man to ESPN and to motorsport to a large extent. He's going to be wearing a uniform, not of the military services, but of his racing team. He's masterminded the success of 3 World Championships for me, and even this year he's clinched the World Championship of Constructors for normally aspirated engines, even as the season has not yet run out. Ken, nice to have Ken Tyrrell on board. How do you see this Grand Prix of Portugal?
Well, as you said, it's nice to see a Ferrari on pole again after such a long time, but I really expect to see a Williams win the race.
Now, there's been a lot of trouble with the Honda engines. For example, in qualifying and practice, Senna and Nakajima both blew engines. Is this going to negatively affect their performance in the race?
I don't think so, because they were probably experimenting with trying to get the maximum amount of fuel with the least, maximum amount of power with the least amount of fuel. I think that they'll just put new engines in for the race, and they'll be there at the end.
Well, as usual, working with us here in ESPN, down in the pits, looking for the valuable information that takes place during the race, of course, is John Bizignano.
Thank you, Jackie. Actually, the pit lane story this weekend may be out on the circuit. The reason why: Ayrton Senna 2 weeks ago almost won the Italian Grand Prix by not coming into the pits for fresh rubber. At the moment, every team manager and driver up and down this paddock is wondering if they can do the same thing. Goodyear's saying, no way, folks, come on in for 4 new tires. The reason? The left front. This is the left front off of car number 28. That's Gerhard Berger's Ferrari, pole position. Now, here at Estoril, this corner takes a lot of abuse because of all the right-hand turns. If it wasn't for this left front, most of the cars could go the entire Grand Prix here in Portugal without a pit stop. Now, the final decision is down to the driver. He's the only one who can really tell if there's enough grip left in that old rubber to go the distance. You're going to see a lot of communications between the drivers and the team manager relative to the tire situation. Nigel Mansell hates to come into the pits. He likes to stay out on the track. He'll definitely try and go the distance on one set of tires. This is a drama that will continue to unroll until a checkered flag falls. In the past 2 days here in Estoril, we've had temperatures of over 100 degrees, rain and wind. So weather is always another factor here in Estoril. We'll be right back to set the grid after these messages.
This pre-race report is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Back on the starting grid for this Portuguese Grand Prix. The drivers have been in the car now in preparation for the beginning of the race. On pole position, Gerhard Berger of Austria driving the Ferrari. Second fastest, Nigel Mansell, looking for a victory here to give him a chance at winning the World Championship. Third fastest, reigning world champion Alain Prost, who won the 1984 event on the same circuit. Nelson Piquet is fourth fastest with the other Honda Williams. Then comes Ayrton Senna with the Camel Lotus. Michele Alboreto in the second Ferrari is sixth fastest. Riccardo Patrese put up a good performance as seventh fastest in the Olivetti Brabham. Stefan Johansson of Sweden is eighth fastest with the Marlboro McLaren. Terry Boutsen, the first of the Ford-powered Benetton cars, is ninth with his teammate Theo Fabi making up the top 10. In 11th position on the grid is Eddie Cheevers from the United States of America, 12th fastest, his teammate in the USF&G Arrow team, Derek Warwick. Andrea De Cesaris is 13th fastest, Nannini is 14th, Nakajima, who had a fire in practice with his Honda engine in the Camel car, is 15th, Christian Danner is 16th, Martin Brundle from Britain, then comes René Arnoux, with Philippe Alliot 19th fastest from France, Campos is 20th, Streff, Capelli, Ginzani, 24th is Jonathan Palmer, Caffey is 25th, and making up the grid is Parini. 26 starters. Now to see us round this racetrack and the on-car camera is Derek Warwick giving us the commentary over the shoulder of Nakajima in the Camel Lotus.
Hi, this is Derek Warwick and I drive the USF&G Arrows. We're currently looking from Nakajima's car in the Camel Lotus. Into turn one, we go from sixth gear down into fifth, out to the outside of the circuit. Quite important to stay outside for turn two. Flat in fifth, you don't come off the throttle at all. Under braking, hard braking. Turn three, second gear. You accelerate, third, fourth. Into turn four, very, very bumpy, tight apex. You go third, fourth just under the shell bridge, fifth, sixth just before the tight turn five there. Very important because you've got a very long straight afterwards. Hard onto the brakes. Fourth, third, back up to fourth, accelerate out of here, quite difficult that exit, up into fifth, back down into third, turn in, not such an important corner because you've got only a short straight afterwards, up into fifth, back down to fourth, quite a difficult corner, right on the outside, normally use the apex, tight in there, down into third, accelerate, very, very important here, fourth, fifth, very long corner, this parabolic corner. You go all the way around the inside, you go flat from about now, fifth, sixth gear by that black mark, and you go all the way past the pits here at top gear, pulling about 190 miles an hour.
Well, the starting grid, as you can see, is made up now. The many people who swarm onto a starting grid prior to the Grand Prix are slowly being cleared. The hardcore doers are still on there, that being the mechanics. They obviously have to stay to the last possible minute. Ken Tyrrell, you spend a lot of time at the beginning of races down on the grid.
Yes, it's a worrying time for all the team, of course, and especially the drivers. And everyone wants to see a good, clean start and everybody complete the first lap.
How nervous, Ken, are you as a driver on that grid?
As a team manager, you mean?
As a team manager, yeah.
I'm never happy until they've come round at the end of the first lap.
So the first lap is the one that you really want to see over?
But in two races this year, we've lost two cars on the first lap, so you can understand why I'm anxious here.
Well, the cars are now pulling away. Of course, this is the pace lap or the parade lap. This is going to be a 70-lap racing race, or 71 laps, including the parade lap. It's a 2.703-mile circuit around here, 4.35 kilometers. The lap record stands at the present time to Nigel Mansell at a 120.943 lap time, considering that in practice Berger did a 118.44. That gives you some idea that Berger has improved on that situation. The track does change here a little bit. however, and that could be changeable because the lap record for practice, in fact, stood to Alain Prost, I think it is, at a little faster time. In the meantime, let's go down to John Bisignano in the pits.
Thank you, Jackie. There is a bit of information coming out of the pits even before this Portuguese Grand Prix has started. Piquet had a puncture on the warm-up lap. They've changed that. Actually, no huge problem there. Patresi's in the T car. They have problem with the injector system on that BMW engine. Senna says my car is average. That means it's a top rating for Ayrton Senna when he says it's average. Lotus, they've had electrical problems with the active suspension all week long, and they hope they've had it solved in this morning's warm-up. McLaren says everything's been going so perfectly that they're a bit worried. Teo Fabi's sitting right behind me here. He spent all weekend long working hard up into a 10th starting position. He got out just before the pit lane closed, had to come back in. He is in the T car. There is a bearing gone in the front suspension of his race car. Teo Fabi starting from the pit lane, Jackie.
Well, a lot of action down there in a very big crowd. The sunshine is very strong, the temperature warm. It was suggested that there may be some rain today because we had rain yesterday. As the cars file around here on this warm-up lap, tires are still being warmed up. Very difficult racetrack, 11 corners in this. 8 of them are right-hand bends. Only 3 left-handers on this course, and the section they're in right now, very important, because if you get it wrong at the beginning of this section, it can be very costly in time. Nakajima is carrying one of the Thompson cameras in the car. He is with the camera pointing forward. We also, incidentally, I hope, are going to see the camera on De Cesaris's car, the Olivetti Brabham, and that will be pointing towards the rear. If cars are going to overtake him, we can see the speed of those cars coming up behind him. This Thompson camera is certainly proving a very entertaining element to our television coverage in Grand Prix racing. Nakajima now coming round the final corner, heading towards the main straight here, which is a long main straight. Nigel Mansell complaining bitterly this morning in the warm-up that he feels perhaps that his Honda engine has been detuned since yesterday. He says he's lost considerable horsepower and considerable speed. He was very, very vocal about it to several journalists this morning, is more than upset, and of course, as we know, and there is the rear view from De Cesaris's camera, incidentally, as the cars come onto the grid. Williams are losing Honda for 1988 and onwards. As we look for the red light, we will see the light system come up in the top right-hand of your screen now. When all the cars come to a stop, they will be under starters' orders. The red light will be given. We'll wait for the green. The cars with the flashing lights behind, one of them holding Professor Watkins, the neurosurgeon from London. The red light is on. They're ready to go, and this green light. Berger in pole position, being out accelerated immediately by Piquet, and look at the movement around there. That was Mansell cutting across Senna, and there's Alain Prost, got himself into 3rd place. Alboreto's into 4th place. As they come through the first corner, it seems to be a clean start. The full grid seems to have got through. Always the first corner is difficult. So it looks like it could be Nigel Mansell. I think Nigel Mansell was up there as well, but I think Piquet is leading the race at this point. And another melee in the exit. There's a lot of cars involved. Ken Tittle is with me. It doesn't look like any of his cars are involved, but it does look as if 2 of the Zach Speed West cars are in there. So it's a US F&G car. Derek Warwick looks like there. That's one of the Minardis, it looks like, stepping out of the car. It's Cathy, is it? And here is the in-car camera of De Cesaris. We might be able to see, that's Nakajima in the yellow car there, as you see in front of our picture. Then comes one of the West cars. What occurs now? This is in the exit, it seems, of the second corner. A yellow flag is immediately thrown. There a car goes right off Nakajima, and it looks like Danner got involved in that. It could have been, and another car on the right-hand side going off also. A real melee there. And they may well have to stop this race. It looks like they're going to red flag this race. We're still waiting for that information. We're looking down the pit straight to see if that's happening, but I think they've red flagged the race. That means that they will come to a stop. No, they haven't shown the red flag. The race is still on, so they must be expecting to clear the cars from this, and they'll be coming on to this immediately. Just as they go round here, look at the cars. Some of them are having to stay way out. The Porsche there with the flag, with the flashing light. I would have imagined under most circumstances, Ken, they might have stopped a race in another racetrack.
I'm very surprised they didn't stop the race there. Obviously a very dangerous situation indeed.
Well, the cars seem to have gone slowly now. The drivers seem to have taken this in their own to go slowly. Gerhard Berger is in the lead at this time. And look, one of the McLarens looks like he's going for a pass. Stefan Johansson drawing a line alongside Alain Prost. The red flag is now being given. So they missed it, it seems, on the first lap. The drivers may well have taken it into their own responsibility to go round slowly, or another flag may have been shown in another part of the circuit, although, Ken, surely a red flag should only be given at the start.
Yeah, a red flag can only be given at the start, and I'm very surprised that they didn't get it out very much earlier.
Well, the black flag also being shown, meaning that this race will come to a stop, which will mean a mandatory 30-minute stop, Ken? Or
yes. A 30-minute stop, and the cars will be refueled on the starting grid, and the race will be started again as if it had never started. So we are still in for a 70-lap race with a new start.
And that will be, of course, with the grid positions as they were in practice, not as the positions were as they went round on that only one lap that was completed. That one lap may be null and void now.
Yes, the race starts all over again now, and the people involved in the accidents can take their spare cars if they have them available.
So therefore the Zack-Speed car that clearly was badly damaged, it was either Martin Brundle or Christian Danner. It was Martin Brundle, we think, in that melee. Nakajima's car seemed to get through it, but he had contact, so there may be wheel alignment problems there. There was one of the Minardi cars off at the same time, and there was also a USF&G Aero car. Philip Alliot coming to a stop.
Alliot's car is damaged there. You can see he's got a punctured rear tyre. Obviously, he seemed to be involved in an accident that took part on the left-hand side of the circuit. Interestingly, the two accidents happening at the same time on different sides of the circuit.
Well, there you see the Zack-Speed car of Martin Brundle circled. Nakajima seems to be clear of this at this time, and I think what happened was Brundle's left front hit Nakajima's right, but I think Nakajima probably slowed because of the accident that was happening on the left-hand side of the track, the right-hand side of your picture. So that was all taken, incidentally, from the Thompson on-car camera being carried by Andrea De Cesaris as Alboreto gets out his Ferrari and Nigel Mansell chooses to stay for a moment. He's unplugging his radio and perhaps lots of other things that he's got in there. So the Portuguese Grand Prix has had a momentary stop because of an accident on this first lap. We'll be giving you more coverage when we finish this commercial.
Actually, Christian Danner is the only out of the Portuguese Grand Prix from that first corner melee. Christian, what did you see happening in front of you?
Well, there were a lot of cars spinning, and I tried to avoid every one of them, and I was quite successful in doing so. But unfortunately, some idiots drove into the back of my car, and so the right-hand rear corner is damaged. They're working on it, but unless there's another delay somehow or another start line incident, I don't think I'll make the race.
Where's the spare car?
The spare car is out there because Martin Brundle got the car.
So actually, both West Zack-Speeds were damaged in that first corner to the point where they could not be repaired in the spare car. Martin got back here before you did, and he got the car.
Well, no, he was kind of supposed to have the car anyway, as far as I understand that, but that's rather political, you know.
What speed did all that happen at, Christian? How fast were you going when you saw everything in front of you turning bad?
About fourth gear, it's about 200 Ks.
So well over 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
What do you think about the possibility of a rolling start as opposed to a standing start in Grand Prix? Do you think that thing would make things more safe?
No difference, because the accident happened in the first corner, and in a rolling start you're also in the first corner, so no difference.
Well, Christian Danner will be unfortunately watching the next start from the pit lane. Back to you, Jackie.
Okay, John, thank you very much. The cars have rejoined the racetrack. They've left the grid, although it does seem that there's some cars still up there as we look at the distance. It may just be people, though. Yes, it does seem to be lots of people. Is there one car still on the grid there? It looks like a white car, Ken. One of the few white cars in this race is the Data General car.
Yes, that's looking like one of my cars.
And it looks like it's been pulled off. Now, one of Ken Tyrrell's car, who's sitting with me here in this commentary position, looks like it's been reversed off the grid into the pit lane. If they can restart the car, Ken, the car would start legitimately from the pit lane, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. There seems also to be a blue car still on the grid, or is that... Okay, so let's have a look at the starting grid here for this Grand Prix of Portugal. In pole position, we have Gerhard Berger in his Ferrari. Second fastest, Nigel Mansell. Third fastest, reigning world champion Alain Prost. Fourth fastest, Nelson Piquet from Brazil in a backup car. Fifth fastest, Ayrton Senna, also from Brazil with a Camel Lotus Honda. Then comes Michele Alboreto, who's driving a backup car now. Seventh fastest, Riccardo Patrese. Eighth is Stefan Johansson, as we look at the aerial photograph here being taken by the helicopter of this Grand Prix of Portugal Estoril racetrack. Stefan Johansson is eighth. Terry Boutsen in the Benetton with the Ford engine is ninth. His teammate Theo Fabi now, who started from the pit lane for the original start, now gets his place properly as 10th fastest on the main grid. Eddie Cheever is 11th. 12th is Derek Warwick. Then becomes De Cesaris, who's carrying a camera, as well as Nakajima. Nakajima comes up as 15th fastest. Christian Danner is out of this race, so Martin Brundle will be 16th on the grid. René Arnoux is in a backup car. He was involved in the accident. Philippe Alliot is in a backup car. He was involved in the first lap incident. Campos is back in by the skin of his teeth as we look over the shoulder of Nakajima in the Camel Lotus. Philip Streff, we don't know whether it's Philip's car that is out or whether it's that of Martin Brundle or of Jonathan Palmer. Can you tell, Ken?
Yes, Jonathan Palmer, in fact, he's not out. He's starting from the pit road now. He's lined up ready to start as soon as the...
John Bisignano, you're down the pits. What is it, John?
We are standing right on the pit wall. We have Dr. Jonathan Palmer in the Tyrrell. He will be starting from the pit lane. They were able to get it restarted back into the pit area. And also Campos in the second Minardi, that's the spare Minardi that we talked about earlier. He will be going from the pit lane. So we have two cars coming out of the pit lane and 24 coming down the middle of the track, Jackie.
Well, we're now getting close to starters' orders. There you see on the top hand right side, looking for the red to come on. When the red light comes on, the start will be given within 10 seconds. It's usually within 3 or 4 seconds. Again, the backup medical and rescue crews are with the flashing light at the back. The red light is on and it's a green again. Nigel Mansell seems to take advantage, and it's certainly Nigel who's got the advantage. And look at Berger's trying to move over against Piquet. Senna's come through into third place. Nigel Mansell's is fourth, then Prost, then Alboreto, then is Boutsen, then Patrese, and then Stefan Johansson as they go through. And this is where the first lap incident occurred, but it does seem this time at least the leaders have got through, and it's Nelson Piquet, as he has led so many Grand Prix this year, has snatched the lead from Gerhard Berger, whose pole position Ferrari slotted into second place. Ayrton Senna's come up into third place as they come along a very fast part of the circuit with a very fast right-hand curve. Cars are well spread out. So it's Nigel Mansell leading. That's my error. I make this mistake many times. Apologies to you in America.
Yes, Nigel Mansell leading.
Nigel got himself a very clean start.
Piquet in fourth place.
So there is Berger tightening up. Senna, then Nelson Piquet in fourth place, keeping in mind the World Championship. Then comes Prost, then Alboreto, then Boutsen, then Patrese. Berger's going to worry him. One of the important things for those drivers in these early laps of this race is to keep their tyre temperatures fairly cool. If they overheat the tyre temperatures on full tanks, it could blister a tyre very easily. You've got to keep that in mind. Berger had trouble blistering a tyre this morning, and somebody went over some of the dust that I think was laid down. I don't think that was an engine, but look at the lead change right there. The Ferrari has been fastest on the straight this weekend.
Yes, that's very interesting. Although it seemed to me that Nigel Mansell got involved in whatever that dust incident was there. I'm not quite sure what caused that, and it allowed Berger to take the lead.
Berger surely has taken the lead. Nigel Mansell has been complaining vividly to everybody. And look at this replay. Let's see if it comes from Nigel's car. Puff. That may have been a gear change miss. He would have been going into sixth gear about then, but I don't think so. But clearly they just gets powered past. In fact, Senna chops off Nelson Piquet, who was also making an attempt. And look at Prost up there being threatened by Alboreto's Ferrari. Berger really has pulled out a healthy lead here. Young Gerhard Berger from Austria, very talented driver, has won the Mexican Grand Prix last year driving the Benetton car, went to Ferrari, has had a wretched year really with Ferrari, and now gets pole position on this to revive the Italian spirit. Mansell looking for a victory here to keep him in touch of the World Championship, at this time against his own teammate who's leading it, Nelson Piquet. But so far it's a bright red car who seems to be setting the pace.
Yes, it's interesting. The Ferraris have had a year of a tremendous amount of unreliability, and although Berger is pulling away at this stage, you'd have to say that you'd think really that a Honda engine car will come through in the end.
If not Alain Prost. I chose Prost to win this race at the beginning, even against Berger, even against the Hondas. I thought he could do it. A little bit of monkey business going on. However, with Senna and Piquet, it seems to me that Senna was weaving down the straight, something that I do not approve of at all. And it certainly was clear going down the straight the last time that Ayrton was trying to block Piquet's attempts to get through by using the road that, quite frankly, he would never go onto under normal circumstances. Berger, one of the young lions who came up through the Benetton team, and Peter Collins, the team manager of Benetton, had a lot to do with the performance of Berger, I feel, and the development of that driver. He also had something to do with Ayrton Senna also, because Senna was with the Toleman team when Collins was there for a while. Collins was very sad to lose Berger at the end of last year when he chose to go to Ferrari. And here you see this long main straight again, where Nigel Mansell has been complaining terribly about the lack of speed that he feels his Honda has. He was suggesting that his own teammate was advantage over him, and certainly the other Honda runners were faster. Whether he felt that was political, that was the suggestion that was being made. Start of a series of corners here for Berger that he has to thread the needle on. If you get it wrong in one, it slows you up all the way through the others. There is Nelson Piquet. Ayrton Senna's got ahead there. There's Nelson Piquet, followed by Alain Prost, the professor, following well. He's tucked in behind Alboreto, in fact. Alboreto, of course, teammate to Berger. It's interesting that Alboreto really was the #1 driver in Ferrari when Berger went there, and this year Berger has certainly been exercising a lot of the spirit that has allowed him just to go a wee bit faster than Alboreto. One of your old drivers is Michele.
Yes, and I think that Michele is one of the top 6 drivers in the world today, of course, and I think we should see him coming through later on in the race. It's interesting that you mentioned that Nigel Mansell was complaining about his lack of power, but in fact at this stage of the race he's holding off the other Honda engine cars fairly comfortably.
Yes, he said in practice this morning in the warm-up that he was having to drive terribly hard to keep ahead of everybody else because of his slow straight-line speed. Now, of course, that may be a driver. As you know, Ken, drivers do talk.
Yes, but Nigel, anyway, is a hard-driving racing driver, isn't he? He doesn't know any other way to drive. He doesn't know how to do it the way that Prost does it, for example. He only knows foot flat out and go like hell.
Well, certainly he's pleasing the crowd at the moment, is Nigel trying hard, but he's not really making much of an effect on Berger. The Williams car of Piquet you were looking at there. Ayrton Senna of Brazil in the yellow car. Nelson Piquet, also of Brazil, stalking him. We're at the Grand Prix of Portugal, and we'll be back. Are brought to you by new Quaker State with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
This large piece of bodywork is called the underbody. It belongs to the Olivetti-Brabham team and fits up underneath the entire chassis of their Formula One car. It takes quite a pounding over some of the bumps at various circuits on the Grand Prix Tour. As you can see, there's actually a little bit of hole being worn into the carbon fiber from actually banging down onto the road. This particular piece of metal, you may think it's the skid plate, but actually that protects the carbon fiber from the great amount of heat built up from the turbo. What they call the skid plate is located right here, which would be underneath the gearbox. Now, it's made of titanium, and the titanium is what causes all the fantastic sparking out of the back of the car when the chassis comes crashing down onto the road surface, sometimes at well over 150, 60, even 180 miles an hour. Now, some of the drivers have complained about these sparks because when they're following a car closely, those little bits of fire can actually pit the visors in their helmets. But the engineers keep using them because they like to see the sparks, and it's good for show business.
Well, show business right now, and the man in the middle of the spotlight is Gerhard Berger driving the Ferrari. Ferrari have had a very dry couple of years or more. They've been sadly out of competitiveness within Grand Prix racing. It looked like they were going to do well. Then John Barnard left McLaren and joined Ferrari to design a new car, which has not yet come along. But of course, much of the improvement in the Ferrari during this season has been put down to the fact that Barnard's had a hand in that. Berger, of course, very young driver, very talented driver, very forceful driver, with great spirit, driving, as I would see it at the present time, almost from the seat of his pants. Nigel Mansell getting a little movement on there. Now that's where tyre temperature comes into effect. The moment that car slides across the road surface, it's in trouble. Piquet attempting to pass Senna just as it went out of camera there, as we follow Nigel Mansell round turn 1 and 2 that really takes almost one corner now. It's a little bit like turn 1 and 2 at Indianapolis, going the other way, of course. And there's the race going on for 3rd and 4th position. Ayrton Senna using parts of the road that sometimes angels may fear to tread on, because he certainly was in the dust at one time that I saw him, just so that Piquet would not get through. Prost is not getting any closer to those two. Neither is Alboreto, who's just up there. After 6 laps of this race, Berger leads, Mansell is 2nd, Senna is 3rd, Piquet is 4th, Alboreto is 5th, and making up the top 6 is the Professor, Alain Prost, who, if he wins this Grand Prix today, would get his 28th Grand Prix victory. And he's been looking for quite a long time for that.
Well, this is a circuit with a fairly long straight, about 1 kilometre in length, and the best opportunity for any of the drivers passing is, assuming that the cars are at the same speed, is at the end of the long straight. And this is what the driver will be building up to try to get in the slipstream. As you can see there, Nelson Piquet behind Ayrton Senna, he will try to pop out at the end of the straight and dive on the inside. It looks like he's not going to manage it this time.
Just too much of the road between he and Senna, but look how he got through that turn there and caught up Senna a little bit as he tucks in behind with his long lens. We can see, but he's certainly closer. The Williams cars were not going quite as quickly down the front straight today as they were yesterday, and the Ferrari was very quick and has been all weekend, as also has Senna's car. There's the Williams trying to find a way past Ayrton Senna. Piquet very forceful, his own countryman in front of him. But you know, Ayrton Senna came through a very tough Formula Ford program, and I was speaking to him earlier this morning because my son's in Formula Ford, and I said to him, and look at this, an attempted pass by Piquet, doesn't make it. I asked Ayrton what he thought about Formula Ford, and he thought it was good to be in the 1600 Formula Ford because it taught you how to race in close quarters with other people. Even though you didn't learn a lot about driving, it certainly taught you a lot how to do the infighting, the passing and the braking and the graunchy racing that does take place. He's had a lot of experience in that, and look how he takes advantage of Piquet coming onto that straight. That one last corner, enormously important, Ken, because it's there that the slingshot would take place.
Yes, and in fact there's a slingshot that could happen here now. Look, doesn't quite get close enough. It's interesting, though, I think that it is thought that most of nearly all of the fastest turbocharged cars are going to have to stop here for tyres. If any two drivers out of that leading bunch are likely to try to manage without a pit stop, it's going to be Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, who have this ability to drive very smoothly and control the car on the corners in order to avoid excessive tyre wear.
And excessive tyre wear comes from side slip. And if we just look as we follow this very good race, you'll see, I think, that Piquet's car is sliding more on the exit of corners than that of Senna's car. And it is also interesting that Senna seems to put a lot into it for that final corner before the straight. It does appear earlier on the lap that Nelson Piquet seems to gobble him up in many of the corners, but when it comes down to the big one, then Senna just seems to know where and when to do it. Let's see if he does it this time. We're entering this series of corners that leads on to a final long right-hander, and this is it. Is Piquet close enough to get a draft? I don't think he's much closer than he was last time, but there is Berger coming through the leader. Then you see Nigel Mansell. Then you see this close, compact two cars of Piquet tucked in behind Senna, and he makes an effort, but he won't do it. Again, he has to tide his time. This is a 70-lap race. They've only done about 10 laps, so there's no big rush for this if he uses his intelligence. Close again, you see. He's closed up under braking. He's much closer than he was earlier. There you see coming into the picture the other battle that's going to develop here between Alboreto and Alain Prost.
Now, interested, the director of this race is giving us where the real race is happening. And,
well, that was it right there. There is the third place pass, and Piquet did it at a time where it was not at the end of the long straight. Now it will remain to be seen whether, and here we have a replay of this pass. He comes up to him, gets him under braking. I have to believe that Senna did not expect this to happen, and Nelson puts him into a position where he cannot retaliate. He snookers him. He's already taken a healthy lead. As he goes into this long right-hand bend, it, I think, will be far enough ahead that even if Senna has got a slightly better straightaway speed, he will not have enough road to get past Piquet at the end of the straight. A very well executed pass. And look at Senna, he's in trouble. Senna's pulled off, he's in trouble, and Alboreto takes up fourth position. Then Alain Prost gets himself up now to fifth position. Johansson looks like he's inherited sixth position. Or is that Boutsen? Boutsen, I think, gets sixth position with the Ford-engine Benetton. There is the battle. Alain Prost looking for a way through Alboreto's Ferrari. Now we've got the order is Gerhard Berger from Austria. Second is Nigel Mansell. 3.9 seconds behind is Mansell behind Berger. So Berger's got a very healthy cushion. In third place is Nelson Piquet. In fourth place is Michele Alboreto. In fifth place is Alain Prost. There you see his car, the tag engine, which he will lose for a Honda engine at the beginning of next season. And then comes the Benetton car of Boutsen, just going out of your picture. Senna is still running. Senna is still running, so he's going around here. He may have a problem that he would come into the pits with at the end of this lap. Let's wait and see if he comes into the pits. It's a real possibility because he just moved over. He either lost a set of gears, Ken, or he has a slow tire or some problem.
Yes, he obviously realised he had a problem and too late to go into the pits. He'd missed the pit entrance, and therefore he's got to do another full lap with whatever problem he's got before he can get into the pits.
In the meantime, Nigel Mansell has put up the fastest lap in this race at 1 minute 22 seconds. Quite a lot slower than pole position, but that's to be expected. Keep in mind that the cars are in full tanks and they are running with a leaner mixture and less horsepower than they would do in qualifying. Fuel conservation is a major issue here in this race for most of those teams. It's a question of how much boost they can use in their turbocharger.
Nigel Mansell's just done the fastest lap of the race so far, and he seems to be steadily increasing his lead over Nelson Piquet. He's now 6.6 seconds in front of him.
But Mansell, in the meantime, is closing on Berger. That's quite interesting. He's closed it down to 3.1 seconds, so Nigel Mansell is beginning to erode the lead of Berger. If Berger's tyre temperatures are going up, and there is smoke coming out of, I think, a Tyrrell car, Ken. It looks like a black and white car round the far end of the circuit, not on your television monitors to the audience in America, but the car was tucked in behind Nakajima. It may or may not be a Tyrrell, but it did look treacherously close to your colour scheme.
You do like to bring me bad news, Jackie, don't you?
Oh, Ken, all is forgiven. In fact, it's a Brabham. It's an Olivetti Brabham with the BMW engine. He doesn't know it's Patrese, and he doesn't know it's smoking because he's attempting to pass another car. In fact, I think it may be Senna he was trying to pass. I think Senna is still continuing round this racetrack. Another car, and there is Patrese coming in. He's down the pit lane. He's pulling off. Is it Patrese or is it the Cesares? It is Patrese. Berger, out on his own, will of course be being informed by his pit about his lead over Mansell. Would you be doing that on the radio, or would you be doing that with pit signals, Ken?
Well, it depends what method of communication teams tend to use.
Mansell is in trouble. Mansell has raised his arm. He had got down to 3 seconds. It now went up to 4.2 seconds, and it's now too long. Nigel Mansell, who's raced for the World Championship this year, is really in big trouble with the picture you're looking at right now. He looks as if he's well and truly out of the Grand Prix of Portugal. He's in no hurry to do anything. Nelson Piquet, in the meantime, with his teammate, you can see Piquet is not that far away from Alboreto, who is no further ahead, of course, than Alain Prost was before in that position, almost in formation. And now the gap has gone, a big gap for Gerhard Berger, who has got himself a healthy lead over Nelson Piquet. And Alboreto there with a prancing horse, well displayed on the side of his car, with Prost putting him under a wee bit of pressure.
Interesting to see that although they didn't have a very good practice, we got the two Benetton Fords up into 5th and 6th place now. Boutsen 5th, Fabi 6th.
Well, John Bisignano, you've got more for us in the pits.
We got Ayrton Senna coming right into the pit, stopping right in front of our camera. They're taking off the bodywork. The radio message was that there was engine problem. As you can see, the mechanics are banging on the Zeus clips. Up comes the piece of fiberglass, carbon fiber, Senna in the cockpit, terribly frustrated, clenching his fists. Of course, he's in communication with the engineers around him. They're working down inside the cockpit. Of course, we have 25 mechanics around this car at the moment. Half of them are Japanese, half of them are Brits. They're taking off the black box right on top of the engine. They're removing the black box. You can see it right behind Senna's helmet. That controls all the electrics on the car. Senna just says, "Get me out of here, folks, get me out of here. I want to go racing, not sitting in the pits." On goes the new black box right underneath the roll bar. Sort of a tough place to get to, especially when you have 45 hands trying to work on it. But Ayrton Senna, he is in the car. There was absolutely no effort to undo the seat belts or anything like that. The engine has been restarted. It sounds healthy at this point. You'll see the carbon fiber bodywork coming back down on. A couple mechanics' heads were still inside there. Engine going soft again. Mechanics, engineers, Senna, everyone looking around. They're looking at the dials. The computers are punching out paper here like a factory. No one seems too terribly happy. The first thing they do change on something like this is a black box. That there could be another problem. Senna is not happy. He's waving them off. I believe he's saying there's another problem, folks. Look closer. Bob Dance, the chief mechanic of Lotus, in there tight. Of course, this is where Ayrton Senna had his first victory ever, was at the Portuguese Grand Prix 1985 in the rain. The sunny day to here has not brought him any luck. Of course, he's not only losing time now, he's actually losing laps. Number 2 in the World Championship, Ayrton Senna, revving the engine higher. And now it's down again. The engine has been shut off. It looks a bit terminal right now, Jackie. We'll get back to you on the later report.
John, we're back again looking at the live action here. This is the battle for Michele Alboreto fighting off Alain Prost. It has been the case, however, that now Berger has a commanding lead over 11 seconds on Piquet, but Piquet put up a pretty quick lap just a few minutes ago and closed that gap to 10 seconds. So therefore Piquet's having a go. The Grand Prix of Portugal, we'll be back. Well, here is the Grand Prix of Portugal. Back to you again, still with the battle that is going on between Alboreto and Prost. The battle up front, however, is hotting up just a wee bit. Gerhard Berger and Nelson Piquet are fighting it out with regards to who does what in the pace of this race. It's down to a 9.7 second lead for Berger. It was up to 11 seconds, and Piquet does not want to let it go too far. Piquet has just done a new fastest lap in the 1:22s, and by doing that he's got it down to 8.1 seconds, the gap. So I think we're going to see some fireworks here. The man that you've got to look out for, however, is Alain Prost. Alain Prost. Nelson Piquet has done that new fastest lap. It's just been confirmed at an average speed of 117.573 miles an hour. But if Prost conserves his tyres, if he really smoothly drives along here, keep in mind that he's in 4th position right now, but he's certainly in easy reach of Piquet and Alboreto. And if they go into the pits and he doesn't, he will also be able to overhaul Berger, because he's only about 14 seconds behind him. So this is something that we've got to look at. Prost has been famous over the years, Ken, of driving conservative races. Very conservative races.
Yeah, I would expect this is a 70-lap race, and around about lap 30, if the quicker cars are going to stop the tyres, it'll be around about lap 30.
So we can expect to see that business taking place. We've done now about 19 or 20 laps coming up. We look again down this long front straight, and Prost is certainly in no position to do anything about doing Alboreto at that stage. But the car does look very comfortable on the road. Alain Prost, of course, is one of the men in the story right now. Prost, in fact, spoke to us earlier about his new teammate for 1988.
I mean, it's not a surprise, first of all, so it's I cannot say that I feel really something different today, because we have planned last year already to try to get the Honda engine, and also we had the possibility to have Nelson as teammate, and did not work for many reasons. So this year it worked, and I'm very happy, first of all, to use the Honda engine next year, because I think our philosophy it's really the same than the Honda people, and having Senna in the team is a good opportunity to have a new challenge, and it will help me about the work, and especially about testing. And I had teammates like Keke Rosberg or Niki Lauda 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't think it will make a big difference.
So you're not afraid of the competition?
I mean, it's good to have competition anyway. I mean, it's good to have problems sometime, and it's good to have a new challenge. So it's even good for him, and you know, I know that I'm older and older, and one day it's going to happen that one guy is going to be quicker than me, but it's not the fact yet. So I'm just waiting for somebody coming in the team and learning me something, and at the moment it's not the case, so I'm not afraid.
Well, a very philosophical and slightly political, I would dare to say, Alain Prost. But I think his feelings are fairly honest, because I don't think he's that frightened by anybody else. I think his talent allows him to carry his picture and passport very proudly. He certainly has the skill to do it, but it will be one amazing team to have Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost together. The man in the lead right now is Gerhard Berger. They're getting through slower cars, and it's interesting to note, in 6 laps, the lead has come down from almost 12 seconds to about 8 seconds. So that has been taking place, probably a large amount to do with the traffic, getting through those slower cars. So, John Bisignano, any more on the Senna pit stop?
Jackie, just after we went to break, Senna did leave the pit in his very special style, laying down rubber halfway down the pit lane. Interesting, that rubber was the same rubber that he started the race on. During that long pit stop, they did not bother to change tires. Now, Ken, I know you were talking about earlier, lap 30, the fast cars coming in. But at the moment, everyone in Lotus thinks that Ayrton Senna, who is one of the most sideways drivers out there, will be able to go the distance of this Grand Prix on a fresh set of rubber that he started the race with. One long pit stop, they didn't even bother to change 4 new tires.
Making sense to me, because if he was in the pits all that time and 20 laps of the race has now gone, I would have thought they would have put a new set of tires on to allow him to go that bit faster in the remaining 50 laps.
Ken, would you think that maybe in the rush of getting that black box and the electrics changed, Peter Warren, his merry men, may have forgotten to change the tires?
I think it looks as if there's a bit of a slip up there, Jackie, yes. It tends to be a one-car team, the Lotus team, with Nakajima nothing like as quick as Ayrton Senna, and when Ayrton Senna comes into the pits, it's more or less the race is over as far as Lotus are concerned.
Well, I must say that I would agree with Ken in principle that why would they not have changed those tires when they had the time to do it? And here the traffic, you can see a lot of traffic going on. Ghinzani now being passed by Berger as they come to the end of this long straight at more than 190 miles an hour. Click it into 4th or 5th gear, then go into 5th gear for this section. Berger now standing on it. He's now set the fastest lap. Since we were speaking of other things, he's clocked one together. That's Alboreto that you're looking at right there. And there is Terry Boutsen in for tires. Now that's after only about 22 laps. They've been in for more than 9 seconds now. There may be more to this because they're looking at the bodywork. This is not just a tire change. John Bisignano.
It's Stefan Johansson from Sweden coming in for what looks like a normal tire change. McLaren team trying to do this in under 7 seconds. No hold up whatsoever. Stefan was out of here, was amazingly fast. We had it at just over 7 seconds, Jackie.
Well, fast and furious. Now Terry Boutsen, John, is still in the pits, we think, or perhaps he's left now, but I can look down from my commentary position and see him still standing there with one of the USF&G Aero cars. That's Derek Warwick. He's off on the marbles. He's asking to be pushed. He's facing in the wrong direction, so he's obviously spun. And there is the Benetton car being worked on. It does look like also potentially an electric problem. The black box seems to have been removed. That was it that was carried off there. And that is a new problem for them.
It's a classic case now of what's happening behind the McLaren there. You'll see that the 2 slower turbos of Caffey and Ghinzani are holding up the 2 normally aspirated cars, my cars incidentally, of Philip Stress and Jonathan Palmer, and the turbocharged car pulls away from them down the straight and then gets in their way going around the corner.
Well, that's something that's just picked up there by Ken Tillett. You can see them in the picture now. The 2 white-coloured cars there are the normally aspirated cars. Let's go back down once more to John Bisignano.
Jackie, you're absolutely right. It is the black box that they are changing on the Benetton, but strangely enough, they're also changing plugs at the same time. So they might have a double problem here. It's definitely a misfire. When Thierry Boutsen from Belgium came by us, the engine was misfiring badly at that point, even on de-acceleration. Again, everyone around here trying to get the job done just as quickly as possible. They don't want to send Thierry out and have him come straight back in. So they're checking both the black box and all 6 spark plugs on this Ford turbocharged engine, Jackie.
Well, that's too bad for Boutsen because he had got himself up to 5th position in this race. Michael Cranapus of Ford Motor Company is here in Portugal overlooking this as it's his responsibility for Ford's competition, and of course Boutsen is carrying a Ford engine in his Benetton. They've been coming along well so far this year, but this is a disappointment for them. As Gerhard Berger, that's the man in the centre of your screen right now, cleans his way around. Turn 1 leading into turn 2, slipping it in to 6th gear as he accelerates down there, trying to get inside. That's Capelli. He gets through there, and that in fact still is not Berger, but in fact is Alboreto. These cars, you've got to spot their helmets, and we're looking at little monitors up in our commentary position here that are fairly marked for ill use. The Grand Prix of Portugal, Alain Prost tries to keep up with Alboreto. We'll be back to see more of that. Well, we we come back to see a picture of Gerhard Berger driving round here after having come into the pits. And there is the car of Philippe Alliot that's been pushed away. The driver's out of the car, a mechanical failure of some kind. Berger did come into the pits and did a very fast pit stop, but is now Alboreto who is leading this race. Before Berger came in, it was first and second in that position. And here is our rear-mounted camera. And Jonathan Palmer, one of Ken's drivers. Ken, talk us through this.
Well, here's Jonathan coming up very close, obviously behind the car of
De Cesaris,
and De Cesaris will be quite slow round the corner and holding Jonathan up on the straight. That is the normal pattern has been in this race today.
So in other words, the turbocharged BMW takes a big lead on the straight, and then when it comes to the corners, Jonathan Palmer and Streff behind him, your other team driver, obviously catches up in the corners.
That's right.
Well, we have a situation developing here in this race. It could potentially be that we have a first and second by Ferrari, because that's the situation as we read it at the present time. Gerhard Berger and Alboreto have gone well all day. Theo Fabi's got himself up into third place. Alain Prost has set the fastest time in 1 minute 21.4 seconds. He, at the present time, is in fourth position. Then comes Nelson Piquet, then De Cesaris, then Eddie Cheever, then Johansson, Nannini, Brundle, Nakajima, Capelli, Streff, Palmer, and Alliot is now out of this race. So it has been a very exciting race. Alain Prost, it is now waiting to be seen how fast he will do the second half of the race, because this race will surely be won probably in the last 20 laps.
Yes, I see Senna is up to 15th place now, but he in fact is some 2 laps behind the leader. I can't see Senna making the first 6 in this race.
Well, of course, World Championship points is what Ken Tyrrell is alluding to. World Championship points go right down to 6th place, where you can pick up one valuable point. And it was at this Grand Prix in 1984 that Niki Lauda clinched the World Championship by winning it by half a point over Alain Prost, who in fact won the race. So the championship was clinched by Lauda, and Prost won the race. There is the pit board going out to Fabi, who's in third position. Theo Fabi driving the Benetton and the Ford engine, carrying the mantle very well since Butsen's been having such trouble, and up into third place is Fabi.
Yes, and only 13 seconds behind Berger.
So there, of course, Fabi probably has not been in the pits. So Theo Fabi probably still has to come into the pits. That's the green car you see, and a little fire being put out. Is that the car of Forini, the young new driver with the Ocello? Forini, who's come along from the Italian Grand Prix. There you see the battle going on. Theo Fabi with the green, yellow and red, many colours in fact, the united colours of Benetton. Butsen is still out on the track, incidentally. You may see his car, and there's a bit of a charge going on by Nelson Piquet trying to get inside Alain Prost, because Piquet, remember, had a slower pit stop than Prost. Piquet right now is back in 5th position, is looking to get past Prost. That'll be an interesting little battle. And here is the Ferrari back in the pits. Are you down there, John?
We're right here, Jackie. It's Michele Alboreto. They had an 8-second pit stop on Berger just a few moments ago. The Ferrari boys working like clockwork down and out of here. Michele Alboreto, I had him at 7.3, Jackie.
Well, the official time up here for television is 6.84, so that may be the fastest pit stop we've seen so far today. Berger's, they did not have the time showing, so he may well be in the 6-second bracket also. But whatever it is, Ferrari have done a very good job with their pit stop. In fact, now in Grand Prix racing for a good few years, Ken, do you think it's got anything to do with their old sports car pit stops and endurance racing? Are some of the same people still with Ferrari?
Well, I don't think they had this very high standard until pit stops for tyres came to be the general way just a year or so ago. And I think that in the Williams team really led the way in quick pit stops, and I think everyone's had to catch up.
So the Ferrari certainly have found their way to do that. There you see the battle going on for 3rd, 4th and 5th place right now. That's Nelson Piquet, who had a relatively slow pit stop, had come in, got fresh rubber, and there is the car of Martin Brundle in the West Zack-Speed car coming into the pits rather slowly. It looks like a mechanical problem. He had the accident at the beginning of this race where several cars were involved, luckily without injury. Let's see if there's a little drafting can go on here. Will Prost, with the tag McLaren, be able to slingshot the Ford and have the increased maximum speed? No, the Ford has certainly gone down the straight as quickly as the McLaren and the Honda, interestingly. Looking for a way past Alain Prost, giving him a little bit of a shake-up. If he were looking in his mirrors, he suddenly saw a lot of red and white. Prost putting Fabi under pressure. Theo Fabi, seldom do you find him this far up in a race, and he is in contention with this race when one thinks about it. I wonder how he'll deal with pressure.
Well, that'll be very interesting. He has gone very well in a few races before, of course, and I know that the Benetton team have very great faith in him. It'd be nice to see him finish well up in this event.
And now you see the car in front of him, his own teammate, Terry Boutsen from Belgium, who had a very long pit stop. Terry Boutsen is well back. He's way back in 19th position, several laps behind, probably 2 laps behind. He will probably move over for his teammate. That'll be interesting. Ferrari comes down this long main front pit stop, or pit straight. A long gap waiting for this gaggle of cars to come. Boutsen doesn't seem to have found it necessary to move over. He's still got a bit of a gap, Ken, but look how close Prost is. Maybe not close enough to slingshot him, though. Going round this double right-hander. This is where Prost tried to sneak in before, as you remember. Having a look, and he goes in. He's done it. Yes, he's gone through. 2nd gear corner, up into 3rd gear, up into 4th briefly, back into 2nd gear. Accelerate away here. Now Piquet's got Fabi in his sights. And Piquet, and this we see a replay of it, Nelson, and there is Alain Prost coming over, putting him behind the black ball, snookering him as we call it over here, since we play snooker instead of billiards in Europe. And he's been able to hold that advantage. There, and Piquet has also passed Fabi. So Nelson Piquet has slipped past Theo Fabi also. We're seeing that as we come out of that long 2nd gear corner. There's Prost accelerating through. So Prost puts himself into 3rd position. And a Ferrari is out. A Ferrari is in trouble. It is in fact number 27, Alboreto. Michele Alboreto, who was in 2nd place, is getting out of the car in a very dejected fashion. Now we see Alain Prost in 2nd place in this Grand Prix of Portugal. Remember, he's looking for, and he's 16 seconds behind Berger. Not a lot. They've done 39 laps, and this is a 70-lap race, so there's plenty of time left. Ken, how would you forecast it looking that far ahead?
Well, I think at the moment Fabi must be suffering from the lack of a pit stop. After 39 laps, he must be needing new rubber. And that's probably the reason why he got past so easily there.
Okay, so we're coming to a very important part of this race of the Grand Prix of Portugal. We'll be right back. Well, speculation must be what happened to Michele Alboreto's car, because Gerhard Berger, his own teammate, and keep in mind Ferrari were running 1st and 2nd, Ferrari must be having a big question mark in their pit as to see what occurred. 15 seconds the gap is now between Gerhard Berger and Alain Prost. He's closed nearly a second on the time that we've been away in commercial. In 3rd position is Nelson Piquet. In 4th position still is Theo Fabi. 5th is Andrea De Cesaris with the Olivetti Brabham. In 6th place, Stefan Johansson. That's the World Championship point standing, of course, down to 6th place. Indeed, it's been an active race, Ken, an interesting race with a lot of changes, not only in the lead, but in the top end of the field. It's not often we see Grand Prix racing with quite so much passing in there.
Yes, it's interesting. It's partly because it's a very twisty circuit, apart from this straight, which is about 1 kilometre long. And I think that the heat of the day is taking toll on some of the turbocharged cars. For instance, we've got the fastest normally aspirated car now, which is Ivan Capelli, up into 11th place, with Jonathan Palmer and Philip Streff in 12th and 13th.
Well, Alain Prost has set a new lap record of 1 minute 20.830. That is a lap record. In fact, not as fast as qualifying, of course, as it never is, but it is an official lap record. So therefore, we have a new lap record from Alain Prost at an average of more than 120 miles an hour. Gerhard Berger still leading this race, and it's he you're looking at right now with the remaining Ferrari. The lead is down now to 13.173 seconds. So Alain Prost is putting on the pressure. We've got a Thompson camera there. The car is in the pits. I'm sorry we're getting rather disturbed pictures from you, but that De Cesare's car is pulling away. While we see De Cesare's leaving the pits, Alain Prost has done another fastest lap. Down to you in the pits, John Bisignano.
Well, Jackie, we had a very crowded pit down here. Both the Brabham and the USF&G pit are right next to one another. We had Andrea De Cesaris come in for his pit stop, and right up his exhaust was the USF&G car. Now, that is most of the cars so far have made their pit stops, except for Teo Fabi. The Brabham pit says that they are ready for him anytime he wants to come in, but of course he is the gentleman who makes the last decision on that. I think, Ken, you said that his grip was going away a little bit. They are ready to change the tires on that Benetton car at any moment.
Thank you, John. Well, again, looking at this gap, and you're looking at Alain Prost right now because he's brought this difference between Berger and himself down to 11.744 seconds. So Alain Prost is pouring on the coals. He really is putting everybody under pressure here. This morning he was the fastest in the warm-up. That is to say, usually with full tanks and the race rubber, he was the quickest. And a lot of people in pit lane were saying this could be Prost's 28th Grand Prix victory. If he achieves that, he will clearly beat my record, which he at the present time is tying with 27 Grand Prix victories. It's been a long time getting this 28th victory, and the man certainly was due it when he had mechanical trouble in the Grand Prix of Germany. So this may be his day. That is, of course, to say if he catches Gerhard Berger. So Berger is a man still to beat. Ferrari have a lot of power. Their straight line speed here has been very impressive. The car's clearly handling well. Gerhard Berger may be just easing off because the gap has gone back up to 12.696 seconds. Prost maybe was in traffic, and Berger may have put a little bit of steam on there because he has done a lap of 1 minute 21.374. That is a little bit faster than he had previously done. Prost is in traffic coming up to lap the two Tyrrell cars, ironically, Ken.
Yes, my two cars are running together. They're very close together, with Philip Streff in front at the moment, and Alan coming up to take him. He's got chopped off there by Jonathan Palmer, but Prost will have no problem at all passing them when they come to the main straight. With 300 to 350 horsepower more, he'll just zoom by them.
So he's got about 350 horsepower more than your car. That's a big difference under any circumstances. Most people would think an unfair difference in a race with such similar cars.
No, I don't really think so. This is part of the phasing out. There's Alain Prost now go by both of our cars. By the time he gets to the end of the straight, he'll be 25, 30 yards before them. And this is a phasing in of the new formula, which is 3.5 litre normally aspirated cars, which takes place for all cars in 1989.
So Alain Prost is now to 13.6 seconds behind Gerhard Berger after 44 laps. We'll be back. This is Jackie Stewart back at the Grand Prix of Portugal. The leader is still the man you're looking at, Gerhard Berger, driving the number 28 Ferrari. He is now 12.3 seconds ahead of Alain Prost, who seems to be either biding his time or just can't go any faster. Nelson Piquet is in third position. 15 seconds behind Prost. Then comes Theo Fabi. That's going to be good for Fabi, but keep in mind Fabi has not been in the pits. He's on original rubber, driving very smoothly. The rumor in pit lane this weekend is that the Fabi may be going to the United States for 1988 to drive the Porsche. That's what the rumor is around the pit lane in this Formula One crew, because the saying is that Benetton are looking for another driver. Now it's down to 11.4 seconds. Alain Prost just sneaked a lap in 1 minute 21.180 around this racetrack here in Portugal. The lap itself is a 2.703 mile lap. And there it goes. Ayrton Senna is now up into 11th position. But of course he's 2 laps behind. He's stuck in behind Capelli, who's also 2 laps behind. Alain Prost looking for a way to go here. Fabi is only 4 seconds behind Piquet. That's interesting. You never know, he could do it, but with rubber that's gone this long, he would not be in a fighting position, Ken, would he?
Well, he has just done a very quick lap. I mean, that is very surprising, actually. If he goes through without changing rubber, that will be a big surprise at the rate he's travelling at.
Well, he's just done a lap of 1 minute 22.987 against 1 minute 23 odd seconds for everyone other than Berger, who slipped a quick one in lap 52 at 21, but not fast enough for Alain Prost, because Prost brought it down to 10.8 seconds. This race is building up to a very good climax. There's less than 20 laps to go. Prost has just done a lap of 21.1.6 of a second faster than Berger, and he's certainly within reach. Piquet in the meantime is 19 seconds further back. Then comes Fabi, who's only 5 seconds behind Nelson Piquet. It certainly is a good race. Johansson is in 5th place, and then De Cesare is a 6th.
Ivan Capelli is lying 10th overall. He's the first of the normally aspirated cars. Jonathan Palmer is 12th, holding 2nd place of the normally aspirated cars, with Philip Stroh 4th. If Palmer in fact finishes 2nd and therefore gets 6 points for the Jim Clark Trophy here, that ensures that at least one of my 2 drivers will in fact win the drivers section of that championship.
Well, that is the normally aspirated championship that was introduced this year. The Jim Clark Trophy going to the driver, and the Colin Chapman Trophy going to the constructors champion, and that person already is Ken Tyrrell. And I may say that it's very nice for us at ESPN to bring a new dimension of coverage to you here in Portugal by bringing a team manager in. And as I speak to you, Alain Prost has done a devastating new fastest lap at 1 minute 20.230, and the gap is down to 8.1 seconds. The Grand Prix of Portugal is truly hotting up to being an amazing finish. We've got Piquet sitting back there. He's not in the race. He's a championship points picker at this stage. He's not in the business of winning this race, but Prost is. Believe me, Prost is. And how Berger will be able to hold up to this pressure, I don't know. Ferrari, of course, have not been successful for a very long time. Well, I'm trying to think now, it's more than 2 years since they've had a Grand Prix victory, so therefore it would be a welcome day for them if they were in a position to do that. The last winner of a Grand Prix in a Ferrari, of course, was Michele Alboreto at the Nürburgring way back in 1985, so you can imagine how pleased they would be as we see both Camel Lotuses coming through, or one of them maybe a Minardi, 2 yellow cars as we saw them there. And there you see, it looks like Prost is right behind Berger now. These are the 2 cars of the McLaren team there, and Prost is down to 6.37 seconds. 6.37 seconds with about 15 laps to go. 15 laps to go in this Grand Prix of Portugal, and I think it's going to be the type of finish that certainly both cars are going to be in frame in one camera. And there you see it. There is Alain Prost closing up on Berger. Ken, again. It looks like he's going to nail him.
Yeah, it looks very much like it, Jackie. And Nelson Piquet is 24 seconds behind Prost. He is no longer challenging for the first two positions in this race. He's quite satisfied finishing third place and make reasonably certain he was World Championship.
Well, there is Prost. Prost is trying to find a way to get to Berger. There is a car between he and Berger, but in fact it's his own teammate, and that's Stefan Johansson. So clearly Stefan would just move right out of the way. There would be no harassment from Johansson. Johansson himself is in 5th place in the World Championship standings for this race. That is 5th place, 2 points in the championship. So this is hotting up, and there you see the Ferrari going past one of the Minardis there, and there are the two McLarens coming into the picture. So the gap between Gerhard Berger and Alain Prost is now 5.1 seconds. Oh, we're at the Grand Prix of Portugal. We'll be right back in just a few moments to give you what's happening here. With 13 laps to go in this Grand Prix of Portugal, Alain Prost is erasing the lead lap by lap. Ever so small maybe the difference each lap. It's down to 5.270 seconds right now, but Prost is on the move. Nelson Piquet is 31 seconds behind Alain Prost, and Fabi is only 1 second behind Nelson Piquet. That is an interesting thing. Fabi could potentially finish third in this Grand Prix of Portugal, but this big story is, will Alain Prost, the reigning world champion, will he be able to catch Gerhard Berger? That would be something. Not only would be a challenging race and a challenging finish from Prost, but my goodness, wouldn't it be a terrific climax to this Grand Prix? And of course, to win his 28th Grand Prix victory in such style would be sensational. There is the car of Gerhard Berger, and there entering your picture is Alain Prost in this long lens that looks from one end of the straight to the other, but Prost can easily see him. He's also being talked in his radio by Ron Dennis, by all of the people in the pits, giving him whatever information he needs. Well, it's going to be a tough race on all of them. Alain Prost going through that. He's a very fit little man, very light. He weighs about 59 kilos. A scalp of a man, and a man of average height, I keep telling everybody. He's even an inch or so smaller than I am, but he's very much in the club. The man of average height, well-balanced, dynamic little man, certainly enormously intelligent in a racing car. Type of man I would want to have driving in my team, and I'm sure Ken Tyrrell would want him to be driving in his team. Ken, what about you? What's the story there?
Well, I think it was such a tight finish with both the leading two cars having to fight out the last 10-12 laps here. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to manage to get to the line to win the race and still have enough fuel.
Well, now this is a technical situation now, but on the dashboard of Prost and I'm sure Berger's car is a readout of laps left in the tank, Ken, so they will be fully aware of that, as will also the pits.
Yes, they have that information, but you've got to remember that sometimes this instrumentation is not as good as it ought to be, and in fact, with such a close finish, both drivers would be putting their foot flat to the floor. They'll say, to hell with the instruments, I'm going for it.
Well, Alain Prost has just demonstrated again that he's going for it by setting a new lap record here in Portugal at 1 minute 19.866, and has done the deed of cutting the lap down to 4.341 seconds. Prost right on it now, giving it everything he can. He's now coming up behind one of the Tyrrell cars, one of the Data General Tyrrells, as we go back to Alain Prost being pushed by Fabi. Nelson Piquet is being passed, potentially. Fabi comes alongside, will not do it there, but Theo Fabi, this is the battle for third place. A wonderful Grand Prix of Portugal so far, Ken.
Yes, and very interesting that Fabi, how can Fabi be pushing Piquet at this stage of the race when Fabi hasn't been in for tyres and Piquet has?
He took a different line there. He was very wide going through that, a totally different line, incidentally, than his own teammate Butch. And I thought for a minute Fabi had come off the power because he was on a different part of the racetrack. But look, Fabi, mean, it's really very tight here. Now, there's Prost. There's Berger, the red car. Here's Prost in second place. The gap is down to 3.937 seconds. I have to believe, Ken, that Alain Prost is going to win this Grand Prix with how many laps still to go? With 10 laps to go, he's less than 4 seconds behind Berger. I have to believe he's going to win it. Alain Prost looking for his 28th victory, a historic moment if he does it. I remember well when I won more Grand Prix than the great Fangio. I remember thinking, my God, I've beaten Fangio's record. And when I finally beat Jim Clark's record, I really did feel that I had achieved something, because both of those drivers stood for something in motor racing that I had always admired. They were heroes of mine. I admired them as drivers, talent, skills and intelligences. Alain Prost now has already passed both Jim Clark's record and that of Juan Manuel Fangio. If he wins this one today, he's going to nail my record. So it's still 3.937 seconds. Alain Prost finding his way around here, as Ken Tyrrell said, clearly watching his fuel level. Nelson Piquet still grasping on to third place. Theo Fabi hounding him in fourth place. Stefan Johansson is in fifth. Eddie Cheever in the US F&G Arrow has come up into being sixth place. The gap is now down to 3.19 seconds. Prost has done another faster lap than Berger by 0.7 of a second on that last lap. He's eroded this lead consecutively all the way. It could be that Berger's misfiring. He went past and we heard a little misfire from Berger. You saw him in the picture. Is he having fuel starvation problems? This could be the end of Berger if his engine's misfiring. It's because the fuel is slurping around in the tank. Maybe not enough fuel to feed the pickup on all of those corners where high G-forces are involved. Some of them very long corners, Ken.
Yeah, but it's a bit too early for him to be running out of fuel. He's got, with 9 laps to go, he could hardly be that short of fuel at this stage.
Well, now he has 2 cars between he and Alain Prost. Can he use that positively? Prost has got to get past those cars. One of them is Capelli. We're going to give you a very brief commercial. It's only going to be 5 seconds long, so we'll be right back after this to see what occurs. And Alain Prost slips past Eddie Cheever, who in fact at this time is in 6th position. Prost in fact caught both of those cars, Capelli and Cheever, on the main straight. So he did not lose anything, or Berger did not gain anything. However, the gap has gone up to 3.535 seconds, so there was a little breath in there for Berger. But Berger's just done a new fastest lap of 20.020. Not the lap record, by the way, because that's a 19-second held by Alain Prost earlier in the race. But Prost is definitely showing the spirit that he had so early in the race. There's a great battle going on, incidentally, with Ken Tyrrell's cars back in the normally aspirated position. Ken, that looks good for you. Capelli is still leading your man Palmer.
Yes, he's still leading, but the gap's come down from 20 seconds to 5 seconds, with Philip Streff in behind Jonathan Palmer. This is a great race for the normally aspirated cars.
Well, 7 laps to go at the end of this lap, and this is indeed a great battle. There, Theo Fabi is tucked in behind Nelson Piquet. That's Piquet in the multicolored car, followed by these united colors of Benetton of Theo Fabi, followed by his own teammate, who's well out of the race as they pass the forlorn car of Alboreto's, who stopped much earlier. For those of you who have just tuned in, there's been a lot of action here in this Grand Prix. The gap, incidentally, has moved up to 4.3 seconds between Berger and Prost. That means that Berger must have put a lot of welly into it. He certainly put his metal to the floor on that. There you see the big battle going on. Nelson Piquet has got a car between him now and Theo Fabi. That's interesting. What is he going to do about that? That will give him a little bit of a cushion, because there's not all that many laps still to go, Ken.
No, that's the arrows of Warwick, I think, that's between those 2 cars now.
I thought Warwick, he's at least been off the road twice, so he's well back in the field.
No, it could be Eddie Cheever. I'm sorry, that could be Eddie Cheever.
So it could well be Eddie Cheever. It could well be him. It looks like an Eddie Cheever coloured helmet, that multicoloured helmet that he has. Fabi looking for a place to go. The second 2 seconds now between Ken Tyrrell's car and Capelli's car. This would secure the World Championship of the Jim Clark Trophy of non-aspirated engines for Jonathan Palmer if he were to pass Capelli?
No, it means that the Drivers' Championship must be won either by Palmer or Streff. They still have to battle it out for the remaining 4 races of the season.
But it means that one of your drivers will surely win that. Very comforting feeling, Ken, if you were to win both championships?
Yes, that would be nice.
Well, that's modesty personified.
Well, what's most important for us, actually, is that we're line 6 in the Constructors' Championship, and we're getting ourselves primed up for 1988 when the normally aspirated car will be competitive against the turbo.
Well, that's something we all will be looking forward to in ESPN, and of course we'll be giving you continuing coverage. The gap now to Alain Prost is 4.062 seconds, but Prost has done another fast lap of, well, both drivers are into the 19s now, but Prost has a slight advantage with a 19.5. It's a wonderful battle because both those cars are in the picture. The Ferrari just went out as Prost came in. It's really going to go down to the line with just a few laps to go now, with 5 laps to go at the end of this lap. This is indeed a great finish. We've seen quite a lot of passing. We've seen lead changes and we've seen position fighting going on. Nelson Piquet has dropped back 50 seconds behind Alain Prost. Fabi has dropped a bit there. He got stuck in traffic and he's now 4 seconds behind Piquet, with Stefan Johansson well behind there. And Alain Prost has now got the lead chopped down to 2.77 seconds. He's only just over 2.5 seconds behind Berger, and you can see him very much, and that was due to another fast lap by Prost. He's doing everything in his talented book to try and get this lead away. Laps to go at the end of this lap. The Grand Prix of Portugal, with 3 laps to go at the end of this lap. We have a very tight program. Alain Prost and Gerhard Berger are seesawing. Those are the 2 cars in your screen right now. As of the last lap, there were 3.1 seconds between them, but that seems to seesaw within the lap itself. There are parts of the circuit that Berger seems to take advantage on, and then other parts that Prost closes up on. But certainly, he's well in sight. There are 3 laps to go in the Grand Prix of Portugal, and this is the battle that you're seeing right now. 2.4 seconds separate Gerhard Berger of Austria driving the Ferrari, with Alain Prost of France driving the Marlboro McLaren with the TAG Porsche engine in it. It's been a battle of those last 20 laps where both drivers have been driving faultlessly. Ferrari are coming out of a dry spell, not having won since 1985 at the Grand Prix of Germany in the hands of Alboreto. Alboreto was up there in contention but dropped out with mechanical trouble. Gerhard Berger now is in a position to win this race or lose it. Alain Prost has everything to gain by winning. Not only would he keep himself in the World Championship ratings for the end of this season, but he would own... I think Berger spun. I think Gerhard Berger has spun. He has. He spun with only 2 laps to go. And Alain Prost is now leading the Grand Prix of Portugal with his 28th victory being looked at, and Berger's car is oh, he's got it going. He's spinning the car round to face in the right direction, and I'm sure that could only be down to driver error. I'm speculating, I'm being hard on Gerhard Berger, but under pressure it would seem that the young Austrian may well have made a terrible error that is going to rob him of a classic Grand Prix victory. But in so doing, he has given Alain Prost, with only 2 laps to go, his 28th Grand Prix victory if he crosses the line in good shape. And we only have a matter of 5 miles, a little more than 5 miles to find that out. My goodness, I'm glad you came back from Bristol to see this. He's 19 seconds ahead of Berger, an expensive spin for the young Austrian. He can now back off. Alain Prost is not hurrying to get past any car now. He's been told by his pit, he saw the car of Berger go into the spin, he saw him across the racetrack. Ken, as a team manager, you would have to be a little upset with your driver if he lost it this close to the end of the race?
Well, I think really that Berger has been driving long enough not to make that sort of an error. So I think that all credit, of course, to Alain Prost, who pushed him so hard. A wonderful victory for Prost, and I suppose, Jackie, if someone's got to win 28, you're 27, you would rather beat Alain Prost than anyone else.
He is a driver I admire enormously, and as that Alain Prost comes up to pass the Tyrrell with the data general identification with 1 lap to go, this will be him on his last lap, and that is Streff, the young French driver, driving the white car with Ken Tyrrell's name across the front. Car that has taken world championships for me, as Tyrrell has, and Alain Prost, a very proud man, as I say, a man who I admire enormously. His skill, for me, puts him in the top rung of drivers that I have ever seen race. I think he's certainly the finest Grand Prix driver in racing today. There is Ron Dennis on the right of your picture, the man who masterminds this McLaren team, has put it together in enormously business-like fashion, is indeed a great team manager and has brought enormous success to this team. Ken Tyrrell's battle goes on. Jonathan Palmer is down to less than 0.8 of a second behind Capelli. That'll be a close finish that we may not see in our picture, but certainly very worthy of the non-aspirated battle. Alain Prost completes this last lap, and as I say, I take my hat off to him. To win 28 Grand Prix victories is a tremendous achievement. The checkered flag is for him. He will go to the podium a very happy man. It was a goal that he set himself last year to do. We're friends, we play tennis together, we live within 20 minutes of each other. There is no animosity in Jackie Stewart as he comes round the final corner of this Grand Prix of Portugal to take the checkered flag in a well-earned victory for Team McLaren. So the Marlboro McLaren with the tag engine wins the Grand Prix of Portugal, and with it, Alain Prost becomes the winningest driver in the history of Grand Prix racing with 28 victories. And I think, Ken, it's very nice for me to be doing the commentary when this man does it.
Yes, I think it's nice, Jackie. He is a wonderful driver. There goes Gerhard Berger to take second place. He'll be quite pleased with that. A little disappointed in his spin, but a very fine race nevertheless. And nice to see Ferrari back in the points.
Well, the winner of the Grand Prix of Portugal, Alain Prost. Second is Berger. Third is Nelson Piquet. Fourth is Theo Fabi. Johansson is fifth. Eddie Cheever is sixth. So Capelli takes ninth place and Palmer is 10th. From us, Ken Tyrrell, John Bisignano and Jackie Stewart, a goodbye from Portugal. The tricolour flies. The French flag flies proudly as Alain Prost drives round this racetrack on his victory lap and must be very happy indeed. Félicitations to Alain, a tremendous victory, Ken.
Yeah, it's a wonderful victory, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather have win a Grand Prix than Alain Prost. He's really set this race alight with his drive from further back, conserving his tyres and his fuel, and coming through with a great charge in the last 20 laps.
Well, there you hear the opinion of the master. Now down to John Bisignano in the pits.
Thank you, Jackie. We have one of the managing directors of McLaren Racing here, Crichton Brown. Must be one of your proudest moments in motor racing, Crichton.
John, this is a wonderful day for us, and it's a wonderful day for Alan, and to take a new world record with 28 wins is something that we've been waiting for, and he's been waiting for all this year. We're very, very proud, and it's been a fantastic day, and I just hope that we're going to have another win or two before the year is out, but I don't know what to say. We're overwhelmed.
I saw a little smile come on your face when Berger spun. Do you think Prost could have nailed him in those last 3 laps if Berger hadn't have lost it?
You can't tell, but all I would say is that Alan was pressurizing him so hard that I think that this kind of thing inevitably happens when you're under such extreme pressure. And anyway, there we are. The fact is he won.
That's actually part of winning, is putting the person in front of you under such pressure to drive him into a mistake.
Exactly, and I think that's what exactly happened this time.
Crichton, I know you have some celebrating to do. We won't hold you up. Thank you very much. A very happy McLaren crew, a very happy McLaren team director, and a very happy Alain Prost.
Well, here we are for the top 6 in this Grand Prix of Portugal. You have Alain Prost. In second place, Gerhard Berger, some 20 seconds behind after a spin with only 2 laps to go. Then in third place, Nelson Piquet of Brazil. In fourth place, Theo Fabi, driving the Benetton car. 5th place is Stefan Johansson of Sweden. 6th place is Eddie Cheever from the United States. In 7th place, Ayrton Senna came up